So when a big company gets hacked, what actually happens next? After the headlines and the panic. It's not just about damage control. It's a full-blown investigation. It's really a digital detective story. So today, let's follow the clues and see what it really takes to solve a modern cybercrime.
And this quote from the creator of Sherlock Holmes it nails it. It perfectly captures the heart of a cyber investigation. Because in the digital world, the first thing you see, it's almost always a carefully crafted illusion, something designed to send you running in the wrong direction. For a perfect example, just look at the 2018 attack on Banco de Chile. The IT team there walked into an absolute nightmare scenario. A really nasty piece of malware was just tearing through their systems, spreading like wildfire. Every single alarm bell was ringing. It looked like a full-scale digital demolition. And the scale was just staggering. We're talking 9,000 computers and servers being systematically wiped. The bank's entire digital infrastructure was under siege. So the obvious fact here was that this was a catastrophic attack designed to destroy data. But it was all a smokescreen, a total masterclass in deception. While the entire security team was busy fighting this massive fire and 9,000 machines, the attackers were quietly using the chaos as cover. They were making fraudulent international money transfers through the SWIFT system, that super secure network banks use to move money. The real heist was happening completely behind the curtain of this very obvious, very loud crisis.
So how do you even begin to investigate a crime scene that isn't physical? A crime scene that exists entirely in bits and bytes? Well, you start by treating it almost exactly like one you'd see in a detective show. And the principles, they just translate perfectly. You know the yellow crime scene tape that secures an area? That's your firewall, isolating the hacked systems. The fingerprints left behind by the criminal? Those are the log files, tracking every single action. An eyewitness with a fleeting memory of what they saw? That's the computer's volatile memory, its RAM. And the evidence bags used to preserve clues? They become forensic images, perfect digital copies.
Now, responding to a hack isn't about frantically running around and unplugging computers. No. It's a very methodical process with some really strict rules. These are the foundational principles that every single digital first responder lives by.
Okay, so first you have to evaluate. What kind of attack are we even looking at? Then, just like the police, you secure the scene to make sure evidence doesn't get contaminated. Next, you identify all the potential sources of evidence. Laptops, servers, phones, you name it. And this last one is absolutely critical. You have to prioritize the most volatile information. You have to grab the stuff that could disappear in a puff of smoke before it's gone forever. But here's the thing. All that evidence is completely useless if you can't prove it's authentic. And that's where something called the chain of custody comes in. Think of it as an unbreakable paper trail. It's a log that documents every single person who handled a piece of evidence from the second it's collected until the case is totally closed. Without this, that crucial evidence could get thrown right out in court. So a form just like this is really the backbone of the entire investigation. It tracks who collected the evidence, when they did it, where it went, and why. Every single step is signed for. This is what ensures that the digital fingerprints an investigator finds belong to the attacker, and not to the investigator themselves. Okay, so you've secured the scene and you know the rules. But now you're facing another huge problem, and I mean huge. A literal mountain of data. The solution is a concept called triage. Now the term comes from French and it literally means to separate out. You've probably heard it used in emergency rooms for sorting patients. Well, in digital forensics, it's all about sorting data. You simply can't analyze everything at once, so you have to figure out what's most critical right now. I mean, really, put yourself in the investigator's shoes for a second. You have thousands of infected machines. Each one has terabytes of information. The clock is ticking. The attackers might still be in the network. Where on earth do you even begin to look for clues? And that is exactly what forensic triage is all about. It's the art of finding that needle in the digital haystack and finding it fast. It's about knowing exactly which files, which logs, and which little pieces of memory are most likely to hold that smoking gun, and then grabbing them before they get overwritten or just lost forever. So, to do all this digital detective work, you obviously can't just use your everyday computer programs. You need a highly specialized toolkit. So let's take a quick peek inside the first responder's digital bag. First up are the tools for capturing the most fragile evidence of all. What's happening inside a computer's active memory, its RAM. And this stuff is fragile because that information vanishes the second a computer gets turned off. Tools like these are absolutely essential.
They take a perfect snapshot of a computer's live memory without contaminating it in any way. The best way to think about it is like interviewing an eyewitness right after a crime happens. You're capturing their memories immediately before they start to fade.
All right, so once you've captured those fleeting digital memories, it's time to secure the long-term evidence. And this means making a perfect copy of the entire hard drive.
Now, a tool like FTK Imager doesn't just copy and paste files. No, it creates what's called a forensic image. It's a bit-for-bit clone of the original drive, and this is so important because it allows investigators to analyze the copy endlessly, to tear it apart digitally, without ever touching, and maybe altering, that original piece of evidence.
But a computer is never an island, right? An attack always involves communication, back and forth between the hacked machine and the attacker's server, and investigators need to be able to listen in on that conversation.
That's where a tool like Wireshark comes in. It basically captures and displays all the data flowing across a network. For an investigator, this is like finding a complete transcript of every single conversation the criminals had, revealing where they came from, what commands they sent, and exactly what data they stole. So when you step back and look at the whole process, from the initial chaos of 1,000 flashing alarms to the meticulous collection of digital fingerprints, the goal is always the same. It's about following a strict, methodical process, one that transforms a chaotic, confusing crime scene into a clear, understandable story.
And that kind of leaves us with one final and maybe slightly unsettling thought. We've seen how these investigators can piece together an entire story from just a few digital fragments. It really makes you wonder if your own digital life, your computer, your phone, all your online activity, if that was the crime scene, what story would it tell? What secrets would it reveal?